Alright, I am at Roman numeral 6. Roman numeral 6. Remember, we skipped Roman numeral 5. I won't be doing that one, okay? Also, I now have crossed over to chapter 18 of your textbook, okay? And a couple of interesting things that I forgot to mention on the last video regarding chapter 18. If you look on page 437, okay, you see kind of a depiction of the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs. This was done by Aztecs. This is some depiction from that perspective, and you can move on down, going through your textbook, and we're going to look for just a few minutes on page 440 at the map there here in just a minute. Okay. Alright, now, European rivalries, the Americas, okay? This is Roman numeral 6. Alright, now, I've mentioned the Spanish already. I mentioned all the things that the Spanish conquered and claimed, okay? And if you look down at the map on page 440, you see Viceroyalty of New Spain there in yellow. That is Spanish. Viceroyalty of New Granada and kind of a aqua green, that is also Spanish. Viceroyalty of Peru in purple is also Spanish. Viceroyalty of La Plata, that's also Spanish as well. Okay, Audiencia of Chile is also Spanish. So the Spanish have a lot of territory in the Americas by the time we get to the 1750s. Okay, also several of those Caribbean islands are also Spanish. Okay, but not all of them anymore. But let's talk about that. Okay, Portuguese Brazil, letter A. All right, now. In 1503, Portugal laid claim to this territory that is now the country of Brazil, and it's kind of in that peach color. Okay, on page 440. Brazil today is the largest country in South America. Now, the Portuguese claimed it. Now, maybe you're thinking, wait a minute, you were talking about the Spanish century, right? And the Spanish century said that was all about how the Spanish had no European competition in the Americas during the 1500s. And then I talked about the Portuguese claiming Brazil in 1503. Well, that is all true, but the Portuguese really didn't do much with Brazil right there at first. Okay, it's going to take another factor. It's going to take an African factor. It's going to take slavery for the Portuguese to really do anything with Brazil. So that area that is Brazil is largely untouched for the most part by the Portuguese during the 1500s, but they claim it is theirs, and the Spanish respect that claim, and they don't try and claim Brazil. Okay, so Portuguese Brazil was established in 1503, but the Portuguese don't start until later. There's a crop that becomes very, very profitable to the Portuguese that is going to make them a lot of money, that grows very well in Brazil. Okay, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Letter B under Roman numeral 6 is the Dutch. Okay. Anybody know where the Dutch live? Raise your hand if you know the country which is the homeland to the people that we call the Dutch. Thank you. Now, that's a little bit of a tricky one. The Dutch claimed a place that we call the Netherlands, which is in northern Europe. Okay? Okay, the Dutch claimed that yellow area of South America called Guyana. Okay? Dutch Guyana. Now, there's also a French Guyana, too. That represents Dutch Guyana there on that map. Okay, so the Dutch claimed a small territory in South America. The Dutch also claimed several Caribbean islands. The most important Caribbean island that the Dutch claimed was Aruba. Okay, and once again, Aruba is important because of that crop that I'm going to talk about here in a later lesson. Okay. Okay, so that's all for the Dutch. So the Dutch come to the Americas. They get a territory in South America called Dutch Guyana. They also claim Aruba and a couple other Caribbean islands. Okay. Also, the Dutch claim. You see in the map in the kind of a I guess a faded green color. You see there's a territory there called that is identified as English colonies. Well, one of those English colonies was originally a Dutch colony, and that Dutch colony was called the New Netherlands. Okay. And the capital of this Dutch colony was called New Amsterdam, but it's not there anymore. Now, it's now part of the United States, a very significant part of the United States, this place that they called New Netherlands. Okay, today we call it New York. Okay, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Okay, let's move on down to the French. Now the Dutch, back to letter B for just a second. The Dutch don't claim any other territory in North America. They are very small landholders of North America. Okay, the French. Okay, the French. The French, the first place that they claim becomes the country of Canada. Okay, you see New France there. All right. Now, what happened was that French explorers came in 1599 up the St. Lawrence River. You see the St. Lawrence River there on the map. The French came up the St. Lawrence River, established the city of Quebec as the capital of New France, this new territory. Now, they don't really make a lot of money early on in New France, what we call Canada today. Okay, but it was their first established colony in North America. But you see that New France also includes the Great Lakes, and from the Great Lakes you can have relatively close access to the Mississippi River. And what the French explorers do is they travel down the Mississippi River and they come out at the city of New Orleans. Okay, which is, you may already know, a very French influenced place today. What they claim, which is not represented on this map, okay, this map is only for 1750, okay, I'm talking about earlier than this. The French claimed the territory that they called Louisiana, named after their great king Louis XIV, okay? And what they identified Louisiana as was all of the land that drains into the Mississippi River, which goes from the Rocky Mountains all the way over to the eastern part of the United States, up into Pennsylvania, Ohio, and bordering on New York. Okay, so the French claim in Louisiana essentially everything from the Appalachian Mountains, which runs from up in New England all the way down through New York, through Pennsylvania, Virginia, western parts of Virginia, western parts of North and South Carolina, well, just North Carolina, excuse me, all the way down to Alabama. Okay, that's the Appalachian. So they have this huge funnel-shaped area of land that, once again, is not represented on the map on page 440, that they call Louisiana. Louisiana, if we looked at it today, it would represent about 1/3 of the territory of that is currently the United States. So Louisiana used to be a huge place, and the French claimed it. Once again, in Louisiana, there was not a huge profit to be made in Louisiana at that time. Later on, profits do develop. But at first, when the French claim it, they don't have anything extremely valuable. The Spanish do. The Portuguese, they will, okay, but they don't yet have that claim or by 1500. Okay, so that's the French, all right? Good. Now, letter D is the English. You see the English colonies. Those 13 original colonies that later became the United States of America, the English claim these 13 relatively small colonies, relatively autonomous colonies. These 13 colonies, by autonomous I mean self-ruling. The English have these 13 colonies that kind of are on their own for the most part. Okay, they're all along the Atlantic coast. Okay, and in 1776, these are the 13 that declare independence to form the United States of America. All right, now. Oh, I forgot something on the French. Let's back up on the French just a little bit. Back to letter C for a minute. The French did have one place that became most profitable, and that place that became most profitable is half of that island. You see where Santo Domingo is? Santo Domingo is on the map on page 440. That's one of the islands there. Okay, half of that island is today the country of Haiti, and the French claim it becomes the most profitable colony early on for the French. Once again, it's that same crop that I had mentioned earlier that becomes so profitable for the Dutch, the Portuguese, and to the Spanish to some extent. Okay. Alright, look, I'm out of time. I'm going to pick up once again with the English, letter D, on the next video.